This is about building a development center for the global company in Ukraine. This speech is about building QA processes just from the scratch. And this is a talk about how we brought the organization from 4 developers working in the wardrobe to delivery enterprise organization. And when I talk about 4 developers working in the wardrobe, this is both literary and metaphoric, because the organization started really with 4 developers, and they were sitting in the dark room and turning off the light. They just told that they are on the dark side of the force. But however, there were 4 of them and no QA. And once again, when the server once was down, but the session using our application was going, developer was just listening to what the stakeholders that use the application were speaking. One developer was getting up and raising back the server that was falling down every 10 minutes, and the other was just listening to what the people talk, posting that to just a notepad text, and then importing those notepad texts directly into the database with insert post request. So if I talk that we build a quality process from the scratch, this is really from the scratch. Let me give a bit of the background, what we were doing and what roles did I play. So in this speech, I tried to focus on my role as a test manager and as a person responsible for QA, but also I had the other 5 hats. It's like Walt Disney's had like 6 different hats he wore to change the roles. Either he is critical, or he's full of ideas, or he's inspirative, or he is a manager and stuff like that. So I was constantly changing my hats, being an R&D director, being a QA manager, and stuff like that. So the background was that we got a really pretty awesome application that was changing the world. And I'm being proud that I've been working to a project as that. For instance, this tool was used to prevent the nuclear war between United States and China. Now 10 years passed, and this is no longer a secret, and there are documents in there. And that tool was used to change the World Organization of Health, and this to prevent the H1N5 flu virus. And lots of and posting shuttles to the space and discovering what were the problems with the crash shuttle of Apollo 13. So stuff like that. But that was far in the past, and the tool was just donated by NATO, United Nations, FBI, American Army, Swedish Pension Fund, and some other organizations. But then the business changed its strategy just to sell to world's economically most influential organizations. It's like economy of 2 entire continents was changed and defined for 5 years. I mean, Africa and Australia, just with 1 session using that tool. So the impact is so great. And I was wondering how the tool could make that impact with no quality and without any testing, just on the initiative and on the psychological background of that. So the tool itself was a brainstorming facilitation session used for evaluation risks, change management in world organizations. So impact was great. So I was hired by international company, primarily USA, Sweden, and South African, which were using that tool. And I joined as a guy who was up to start a development center, but since there was no QA, I spent much time on that. So The next following are 10 questions that I've been asked by CEO who had never to do with managing the organization that produces software. This guy is just from the consultant world who facilitates sessions and facilitates big groups. And he had nothing to do with software before that. So these questions is how a tech guy responds to questions asked by business. Now, as I was hired, there was a question. Now, Andriy, when we hired you as a QA manager and Agile guru, now tell us how Agile will improve quality. Well, Agile does not improve quality. You need to define quality itself. What do you expect from a tool being qualitative enough? We just need to define what are the baselines. And disregarding are we using Agile or we are not using Agile, we just need to think about quality. Now I've got some notes. And when we are talking to business, specifically the business in the United States, they don't understand us and say, okay, you tech guys usually talk bullshit with all your freaking stuff and freaking terms we do not understand. Now give us an examples. And when the business model of the tool changed from being a donative tool from some budgets to a tool that is solved to financial organizations, the business itself used the metaphor. Now, these guys that change the economy, they drive BMWs, and they require a BMW quality from everything they use. Specifically our tool. So, but actually, as I have stated, the quality was not better than 1960s hippie, colorful, old Volkswagen minivan they were using, getting LSD and drugs and driving all around the city. And now the goal was to bring that hippie Volkswagen minivan to the BMW quality. And that was one of the metaphors I used to speak and give answers. So answering that question, you just need to define and need to admit what you want from the quality. And now, are we using Agile or not? It does not have any meaning. Now, the next question was like that. Now, our executive council, the board of directors, has set a goal of 3,000 story points per release to get delivered. By now, let's say there were 1,200 story points delivered. Now, here is the question: how we make? What would you need to do to help us achieve this? You see, usually business talks like that. They say, okay, we set the goals, we committed something to our funders, stakeholders, and now you need to do something to make happen something that we have promised. And one of the other stuff was, how can we make QA stop failing our goal that we have committed, because they just post bugs and stories do not get completed just because there are a lot of bugs in them. See, usually it happens like that, and this is a true story. Who is responsible for all the failures? Right, the QA team, because they keep finding bugs and keep stopping us moving forward. And another comment was that guys from business committed to 3,000 story points. They do not understand what's, the real value. They use it as some measurable KPI. And now we need to do something. So what I responded to that, okay, if you want, You get 3,000 story points per release just after I do recalculation. Guys from business do not understand that story points are basically gummy bears, something that is not measurable, like measuring the length of the field where the ball kicks, and that's it. Now, the other trick to speak with business is just to speak with business by terms of money. Now, what is the difference? Is there a difference between 3,000 United States dollars and 3,000 Indian rupees? Well, probably yes, because you probably buy just one bun of bread for 3,000 of rupees. So, if you want, what I told them, if you want to have 10 times KPI that you have promised, I can do right away. I just recalculate and redo the schedule of these story points. But we will not keep bringing more value and bringing functionality just because this is set as a KPI. Now, something we do and the functionality we produce is your money, and this is something that you need to report to. How much software or the functionality do we produce that bring you some money to the budget, not the story points themselves. Now, as things went forward, one more stone into the QA garden. We don't want to wait until the end of sprint just because to add some new functionality. We need to wait 2 or 3 weeks before the sprint ends to add it to the backlog and then wait for an extra sprint for this to get delivered. This is not for like us. And by the way, we have promised that to the customer that it's already done and in the testing stage. So we need to do this right away just to get some more revenue. And revenue and money is everything is the most they measure. Now, use some agile tricks to make that happen and for us to break the rules. Who had faced the question, the issue like that, adding the scope? Yeah, right away. So what we suggested, some functionality, and actually I suggested an agile trick. There was a team that was producing functionality, and then for that functionality was measured with money they bring, not the story points. As a KPI, they reported to those who gave money. And on the other hand, so that functionality was produced on a pace with sprints. But we added one more team that was just fighting fires. What guys that are not familiar with software development methodologies are, they just mix Agile and Scrum. And doing sprints and doing the daily meetings is what we call Agile, right? But we have Scrum, we have Kanban, so we suggested a firefighters team, which we actually called SWAT, which was either fighting some fires from the users that paid actually the money and wanted them back because the software did not work, or adding some super hot features just to bring the money. So one piece of planned functionality was being developed according to the schedule, and the other stuff was, and the other team, SWAT team, was just fighting fires. And this is a challenge because if a personally constantly comes to the office day to day and just to save the day and save the world every day and fighting fires 8 or 10 hours during the day, it's usually very exhausting. So we need either to rotate those people, both developers and QAs, because testing something that is burning is painful, right? Either look for people who just feel the self-importance of being the savior of the day every time. And there were some QAs who just wanted to save the day once and once again. Now, the next question was that, and we have developed the process. And let me give a little bit of the background to what has been done. My goal was, when I was hired, I was told, here is a big carriage of money, and we want 10 rock stars Java/JavaScript architects to get hired. And Java plus JavaScript, 2-in-1, rock stars, architect level. Well, Lviv is pretty big and pretty rich with resources, but we could hardly find 10 Java plus JavaScript architects and hire them all again. So what I was suggesting is to build a team of both guys, because there was no quality, so we introduced some guys from the automation, from quality management, DBA architect, couple of front-end like Java plus JavaScript architects, and the RASAM, and we hired both. But you never can get a soccer team of just 10 forwards and 1 goalkeeper. There should be some defenders, some midfield players, and just only 2 forwards just to lead all that. So that was a suggestion. And actually, what my finding is business understand sport metaphors very well. They understand sport, money, and some gurus of the business world, like giving Steve Jobs quotes. Now, as we hired QA and QA were progressing, business just found, okay, we are spending half of that budget on carriage with money just for guys that do not build software, they just test, find bugs and stuff like that. So maybe we can fire all the QAs, use that money, and make developers work qualitatively. Now, we hire a professional who should work professionally, right? So why doing bugs? Now, the answer was, now imagine a rock star developer that believes that he is a god and doing a very, very elegant, just crystally clear piece of code, and make him test that code and find bugs in his own perfect clear code. That would never work, right? Developers are going to develop, testers going to test, analysts going to analyze, haters gonna hate, and potatoes gonna potate. So let professionals do their jobs. And here's one more trick, the famous business people. Here's one more quote from Steve Jobs from that LinkedIn posts with grumpy cats and Steve Jobs' face. You hire professionals just to, not to tell them what to do. They are going to tell you what to do. And if you have a Steve Jobs quote that matches your needs to prove something, this is 80% successful. Because there were, and you can search in the internet for 20 top Steve Jobs quotes, print it or have it somewhere noted, and just list that and use that when you see it. Those fancy CEOs and the business owners, they all want to be like Steve Jobs. So use their quotes just to prove your point of view. Now, the next question was B. Of course, we hired a rock star automation QA engineer, and that was a really rock star engineer, the best we could hire in Lviv. Well, we paid much, but whatever. So, but in general, when we discover a salary of the rock star automation QA, it's both, it could even be bigger than just a developer rock star or a QA rock star. So why we are going to be, why we are using just that AQA automation lead? Well, the answer is no. We don't need We don't need automation QA to be agile. To be agile, we just need to think agile and act agile. And automation QA just saves you money and gives you sooner feedback. Now, we identified that the full regression, or at least the minimal regression, is 10,000 test cases. And we got 5,700 test cases written and 4,300 even not identified. So 5,700 test cases, when was minimally calculated just to run them, is 9 developer weeks. So to get a quick, and the business wanted it agile, and they wanted it to get delivered a new sprint, a new release after each sprint with a high quality. So we needed to regression test this. Just to do the simple clicking, not even posting the bugs, we needed to hire like a team of 6 monkey clickers and let them be just super cheap juniors, interns. We usually got the internship program. And 6 interns with just monkey clicking needed a week and a half just to run the regression suite. Now, if we use that, and let's take just the minimum salary for that, for $500, which is $3K bucks just for guys who do the monkey clicking. Why do not doing it automatically? And this is actually as pretty the same as the salary as of an ICE AQA. And it took a year for that AQA to automate those 5,700 test cases. So the return of investment was 1 year, which means that after that year, company was saving 36,000 bucks a month per year just for the regression, just not for doing the stupid job. And 36,000 for a stupid job is a pretty big amount for business. Now, this question is tricky. Agile looks to have lots of complicated rules. Can we kiss? And this was actually funny because the question was asked by a business shark lady from Exco to me. Well, the first thing you need to do is just keep calm and know the abbreviations. KISS means keep it simple, stupid. Now, what I told the business. Now, imagine that you came to the BMW factory and say, okay, these are 10,000 steps you need to do to ensure BMW quality. This is too complicated. We need to keep it simple, stupid in 3 items. Would this make old minivan Volkswagen or an Opel of 1950s to a BMW of the new series? Never. Just because simplifying the rules, you can't understand them. This does not mean they don't make sense. So my answer was yes, I can give you a KISS. So you do business, I do the functionality. I'm going to give you a KISS. Just keep it simple, stupid for you. And I took all the complications. You do business. Now that's why you pay me. And here is one more nice place to use the fancy Steve Jobs quote, right? I just mentioned, which business actually liked. Now the next question was, and that is my favorite. Now, as we got the 10 interns just monkey clicking, finding bugs, the number of the bugs open in the software just traced from 100 to 850. And just giving a metric, business thought that, okay, we hired the QA, and it occurred to be that we are now having more bugs in the system that we used to have with having no QA. Who is responsible for that? QA is responsible for that. And we are having worst quality ever. Now, can I expect from you that the next release is going to be successful? So what I learned from that giving business numbers or just data makes no sense, because they tend to do foolish decisions. And if a foolish decision could be done, it would be done just to those rules of bad things going to happen. So, except giving them data, you just need to first give an explanation of the data. Why did they that raise? And give your recommendations. And this is actually your possibility to manage the top management of the company. Just with giving data, explaining, and giving your recommendation. Now, it actually wasn't the worst release ever. Now, having the background of 3 years working in the company, this release with 850 bugs was the best release ever. Why? Because 450 bugs were fixed, that were found and identified as high priority, were fixed during that release. So it could be that the release that has the most bugs reported can occur to be the best release ever in the company. Now, who has seen like that? Who knows the correct answer to the question of a bug posted? Something, when I do something, something crashes. Well, what I said is just assign that to myself, and I close that bug with a command, something fixed. But this gives couple of other items. First, what we did. How did we get this thing? We get this from an end user. We just added functionality for the end user to select something, click and say report feedback. When we thought about feedback, this was just a constructive feedback with some suggestions and other stuff, but it occurred to be that 80% of the emails were just bug posts, and the other 10 was misconfiguration and accidentally created emails. But this brought, and we taught users just to help us with the bugs first. Now, we know that a simple stupid rule, when the customer is happy, everyone is happy. And the opposite works as well. When the customer is not happy, no one is happy, and this makes your neck pain. But we found bugs like those. So this was a good starting point where we started adding some more data into those emails. Which environment do they use? Which version? Which locale they use, because there were difficulties and many bugs with Hebrew, for instance. And by giving and extending those emails with data, we just found the stuff of what pieces of the product is more used. And can you imagine that for a product for 25 years was on the market and solving world's, biggest issues, there was not a simple stupid thing like provide a feedback. And this once again explains that the quality was never occurred. You just do it bang bang and post it into the production. Well, I think you know what I mean. And then the question was, I wonder why that crash was never found. My other comment after closing it as something fixed was, oh, that was just an edge case with the full moon when a werewolf converts to a vampire. Edge case, but it got fixed. I think we got that figured out. Okay. The most important stuff for me. Now, and I figured that out just 2 years after working and building quality in the organization. Now, we don't want a crystal clear quality. it was just because I was holding the releases and saying, no, this release can't go online because it has like 20 critical issues present there. I don't give a go. Now then I heard we don't want the crystal clear quality, our priority is time to market. What can we do for you? Check this out, once again, those business tricks. We committed, what can we do for you to make it happen, right? Now what I asked to do is, I asked, can I get this written down on the paper and signed? Please sign this. The time to market is a higher priority for you than a quality. Okay, if you say a release and override my QA manager veto over, no, this release can go, and now the CEO says, yes, it goes, and then, well, he has more impact. But then I got the document signed, and actually I printed it out in a nice PDF file, put it on the frame, put the frame with the glass on the wall, and that stuff was hanging just behind my back when I was talking about the release going in and going out. Kind of tricky. But the other thing I discovered, and then I use on my further projects which I work now, is that quality might not be a constant for a business. And actually it happens that business uses quality as a trade-off. We want it sooner to the market, okay, we can trade off quality. But you just need to understand the business objectives behind that. And the last one, it's more, now we talked about more quality control, testing, stuff like that, and there was a whole field, a whole universe that I was discovered as a quality assurance, not the quality control as testing, but a quality assurance of the process not being taken correctly in the organization, that builds a software which helps to improve processes. Well, there were no processes enough. And when they talked about Agile, they meant Scrum, and when they meant Scrum, they meant just daily stand-ups and some ceremonials. And the three questions asked on the retrospective: what went well, what could go better, and what should be improved. Now the questions were just asked once again and once again during months, and well, there were no better answers. So the question was, once again, that business trick. What would you do? What would you need to do better? Well, I need the whiskey. Now the CEO was from time to time checking those retro stuff, and just came across that and said, what the fuck is that? Well, if you want to get a qualitative answer, you just need to ask a qualitative question. Now, what should be improved, or just what would you need just to feel better? Well, whiskey will fix this, and that's it. If you want to get a smart answer, you just need to ask a smart question. Stupid questions lead to stupid answers. And this is just the quality of thinking and keeping the quality just in mind. So first thing that I discovered when I want to build a qualitative product, quality should get and be just a mindset you use. And to start getting the quality from the product, you need a quality from the team. And the team should think in terms of quality. Too much quality in the last two quality words in the last 2 minutes, but I meant it. Okay, so that was 10 questions from business. Now we have 10 minutes for 10 questions from you. And by the way, you can ask Ukrainian, Russian, Belarusian, Polish. Sorry, no Czech.
Hi. I will ask in English because you were present in English for some reason. So, if we would go back to those slides, you don't need to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
You had those comments with the bugs, and the comments were clever and funny, like we found something and we fixed something, and the same with the whiskey thing. But how did the CEO, how did the business react to such clever and funny answers? Because from my point of view, they could be a bit offensive to the guys.
Yeah, right. Once again, a little bit of a background. Both CEO and the CFO, which actually hired me, were Swedish guys working for an American company and moved, getting a green card and moving to US. Yes, people from Sweden moved to US with green cards too. So they were Swedish. And Swedish guys just like it straightforward. They value that you tell the truth and you talk with them just in their language. Well, they might call me a smart ass just because of my last name in Ukrainian. And yes, they know what mudry means from Ukrainian. So that's why they called me a smartass, and I got a carte blanche. But keeping it serious, those guys appreciated talking to them straightly. Because what you face in American when you talk about the guys in the top management, there is lots of intrigue and lots of, guessing and reading something between the rows that you might guess and understand. So if you tell them the truth, they just appreciate this. Yeah, they hated it actually. That's why they kept blaming me a smartass, but whatever, if it makes a difference.
Alexey Vinogradov, thank you for your talk. I think there were some very good points in it, but I think a few bad too. I'm sorry for bashing on a bad one this time. So I think I've heard that you really said, you've said it, you want to exchange some manual tester for test automation suites to save money. Was it, you were not kidding, to want to replace people with automatic regression suites and say it's enough, and then from the year 2 you will save thousands of money?
No, maybe I was not super clear about that. Yeah. We got the QA and really senior QA and a kick-ass rockstar QAs working as well on the quality. But those guys, rockstar kicking ass QA, do not usually like running simple stupid test cases. Well, that's why you hire juniors to do that. They got lots of work to do except that. And now you needed some guys to do some super intelligent work, but you still needed someone to run test cases. Now, smart people should do smart work, and then stupid work could be automated. Well, we had those people, the team running running test cases, those 5,700 test cases, just while we were doing automation. And that was one other stuff when business said, okay, we pay, this year we pay twice, both for running test cases and for keeping that automated.
Okay, no one can disagree that smart people should do smart work, of course. Okay, so my point was that it's not
it's not the fully replace.
Yes, it's not the return on investment. It's not about saving money. It's about
well,
in this way you've told it. So just simple calculation. We have a manual tester and then we have none. It's I think we should try to avoid these kind of words on the conferences. So it hits me. I'm sorry.
and I feel your pain. What I just wanted to say, I was saving them money on just regression testing activities. Yeah, and I'm a smartass, and business likes when you tell them that you save money.
Есть вопросы? Добрый день, меня зовут Наташа. Нарушу правила, спрошу на русском. Что по поводу бюджета? Я так понимаю, он был неограниченный, поэтому у вас была возможность засетапить еще одну отдельную команду, или вы разделили предыдущую?
That was pretty tricky, just because first they gave me much money for hiring rock stars, and then when I came for more money, what business actually answers, especially in the United States, okay, we don't have more money, we gave you more money and we pay for those rock stars. No specific additional costs in the budgets. Andriy, you need to be more creative and use creative solutions. What I wanted is to hire at least 4 intermediate developers that would run the regression testing and do some more smart work besides. But I was told, Andriy, we have no money for additional QA, even if we care about quality, blah, blah, blah. So those 10 additional people were a creative solution. There were lots of people that finished QA schools and QA training in Lviv but did not get their jobs. They needed a start in IT just to have practice, because no one hires a guy that even for a QA that has no practice. So we gave them that chance, well, paid very few, and that was some smart solution. And after hiring rock stars, then business became very, very greedy. So they didn't want to give more money. So hiring an internship program for let's say $4,000 per month, what they actually paid for one senior when talking about outstaffing business, was a really smart solution for them. And once again, I use the trick, I save you money. Did I answer the question, or, I mean, still not comfortable?
A bit, yeah. So the question was, you really, you fit the budget, right? You meet the budget, you didn't ask for more money as a result. You didn't get any other
Well,
financial...
I asked, but I was not given.
You was not given, okay. That's the answer. Thanks.
I was not given, yeah. And just a comment why I speak English is just because my understanding of Russian is 5, my reading is 5, my spelling is 5, but my speaking is a 2. That's the first reason, and I didn't want to hurt your ears. And the reason number 2, if I spoke Russian, I wouldn't use that many jokes that I use that have some English subtext. I just wanted to keep that business English and smartass CEO English in the original language. Well, I hope you understand that. Okay, one more smart-ass question. Then, thank you very much.
Thank you.